Simply Scuba presents the Deco Stop podcast.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Deco Stop podcast. I'm Mark, a former dive instructor, and I'm here to talk about scuba diving and stuff. But first of all, how are you? Are you okay? Is everything all right in your life? Just make sure that you're looking after yourself and keeping up with your mental and physical health. The main thing that's been bugging me this week is the fact that the L key on my keyboard seems to intermittently stick. So when I'm typing, every now and then it types 2 L's instead of 1. And you'll be surprised how often you use the letter L. So that's what I've been dealing with this week. I've tried cleaning it. I've tried doing the upside down smack. It just, nothing seems to be working. So yeah, I'm going to give it a deep clean this weekend. But jumping into Simply Scuba website updates. So the first one is that the Fourth Element Scout mask has finally landed on the Simply Scuba website. So the Scout, I'm going to elaborate on it a lot more later, but it gives you 4 different lens choices with your mask for diving in different environments. So if you're in the market for a new mask, definitely worth considering. Very environmentally friendly as well, because the mask strap that it comes with is one made out of a lot of recycled materials where they could. This is very Fourth Element. They like doing this in all of their gear. Where it can be made from recycled materials, they make it from recycled materials. And the elastic mask strap, that kind of ski goggle mask strap, is also available as a separate item, and it's designed to fit a lot of different mask brands and styles. So if you want to upgrade your mask strap before the diving season, then it's worth considering. Otherwise, we had the Aqualung Hydroflex Shorty wetsuit. That's quite funky. They've got a sort of a blue coral design on the shoulders, on the patterning. So yeah, if you want something a little bit different instead of just a black shorty, check out the Hydroflex. And we've updated our free UK standard delivery. So on all orders over £50, you get free standard delivery, which of course you can then boost up if you want, like next day, next working day, and all that kind of stuff. But for all orders over £50, you don't pay for standard shipping. On to social channel updates, and if you can hear some weird kind of interference background noise, it's not your device, it's not your headphones, it's actually my dog chewing on his antler. So sorry for that. At least he's not barking at us. But on YouTube, so a few videos. So on Friday's AskMark, I was asked questions about redundant bladders, sort of side mount as well, butt pouches, which is always fun to talk about. But yeah, sort of interesting storage options for when you're in the water. Instead of thigh pockets, are butt pouches practical? Yeah, in certain situations, but they do have their downsides. If you want to learn more, head over to YouTube and listen to this Friday's Ask Mark. On Saturday, I did a Google questions answered on knives, just answering questions about dive knives from the general public. And on Sunday, I did a video on frameless masks, my top 5 frameless masks leading into 2022. That was mainly inspired by the Scout mask coming out. And on Tuesday, just coming, we have a top tip video on surface interval, what to do during your surface interval, little tips and hints just to make your life a little bit more comfortable. The first news story is all about Greenpeace, and Greenpeace have over the past couple of years in marine protected areas around the UK, they have been dropping boulders, these huge sort of rocks, into these marine protected areas in an effort to try and deter and prevent bottom sea trawlers from just going straight through these ironically named marine protected areas, because you're still allowed to fish in these MPAs, but if there's a giant boulder in the way, of course it's going to catch and damage their netting, and that's quite costly for them. So Greenpeace have been trying to sort of find a very eco-friendly, non-confrontational way of preventing these bottom trawlers from damaging the environment there. And the MMO, the Marine Management Organization, which is the government agency charged with protecting the marine environment, has ironically taken Greenpeace to court about dropping rocks. Not that they're prosecuting the people who are damaging the environments, they're damaging the people who are trying to protect the marine environment, which is ironic. And that's exactly what the judge in this court case sort of said, how it's stupidly ironic that the MMO, who's designed to protect the marine environment, are going after Greenpeace, who are also trying to protect the marine environment. But they're saying how these MPAs, the marine protected areas, they are designated by the government to protect marine life in UK waters by curbing fishing and allowing species to recover, but you're still allowed to use bottom trawling, which doesn't just scrape every last living item off of the bottom, but it also releases a lot of carbon that's stored up sort of under the water in the bottom. So it's actually really bad for our carbon emissions at the moment. So it's all very, very bonkers. But the Judge Edward Bindless criticised the MMO during the case and basically said, well, the 2009 Act introduced a licensing regime to protect the marine environment, and Greenpeace were also seeking to protect the marine environment. Should the MMO be prosecuting in the name of marine protection, the defendants' actions in trying to raise awareness of the government's perceived failures in relation to marine protection? One of the ironies of this litigation is that both the MMO and Greenpeace are committed to improving the marine environment. He goes on to say how it's just pure irony, but and the case has been dismissed, and Greenpeace have been found sort of not at fault, but the MMO spokesperson, of course, not backing down, saying the findings of law in this case made clear that the MMO had jurisdiction to prosecute and that Greenpeace are expected to comply with the marine licensing regime. It is noted that since initiating proceedings, Greenpeace have not carried out any further unlicensed activity. The MMO has decided not to continue with the prosecution. In doing so, we fully expect that Greenpeace will, in accordance with the comments made by the learned judge, support and comply with the marine licensing rules in the future. So they're not bitter at all, but it only goes to highlight the hypocrisy and the irony of the MMO, who are there to protect the marine life and try and sort of boost them. They're going after the wrong people because, well, they're not the ones that I presume sort of make the most money. So just a bit of irony there, but a nice positive end for Greenpeace. In the North Sea, towards the end of last year, a lot of crustaceans, crabs and lobsters were dying in huge numbers, and a lot of the local fishermen were basically trying to figure out why. A lot of them were pointing fingers towards some construction work. They were dredging the River Tees, which was part of a new government's flagship free port on Teesside, part of Brexit Britain's levelling up agenda, something that's going to create loads of jobs and boost the economy there. But unfortunately, it seems, or it appears to have sort of been killing all of these crustaceans by releasing some sort of chemicals into the water. But of course, DEFRA, the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, they looked into it. They sort of released their report recently, and the agency believes that the deaths of the crabs and lobsters between October and December 2021 potentially resulted from a naturally occurring harmful algal bloom. Nothing to do with Teesside or the dredging or anything. Don't worry about that. It was just a harmful algal bloom. However, a recent independent study actually linked these mass crustacean deaths to chemicals released during the dredging of the River Tees, practically confirming what the local fishermen had been saying. And one actually later on went to say that it couldn't have anything to do with this algae. There was no sort of trace of this algae. That was it. Tim Deere Jones, an independent marine pollution consultant and author of the report, said there was no empirical evidence to support the theory that it's got anything to do with an algal bloom. So now they're really wondering whether you can trust anything from DEFRA, or whether they were trying to cover things up, or who knows. But yeah, it's definitely worth looking into, and just sort of wondering why. It's they reckon it was a chemical called pyridine, and it's a chemical that's used as a base in pesticides, and it can be released into the environment as a waste product from industrial processes. So far, the available evidence points pretty clearly to pyridine as a potential cause of the mortality of all of these crustaceans. So, yeah, this is just yet another one of the things where you're told that, yes, there's a report, it's probably this, it's got nothing to do with sort of what we're doing, but then you get a independent report which refutes everything and points it right back to exactly what everybody thought it was. And yeah, of course, now we have a lot of sort of fishermen and, of course, the environment struggling because, all of these crustaceans are dying. And, of course, the fishermen, they're losing their jobs because they can't catch any crustaceans anymore. Good news coming out of Australia, off the coast of Adelaide, where local divers have been helping to recover seagrass beds that have been disappearing over years. So this all comes from Ozfish. And they've been working together with a lot of local people to actually replant 150,000 seagrass seeds along its beaches as part of their annual Seeds for Snapper campaign, which is a seagrass restoration project. So it's a month-long program. This is the second year that they've done it, as far as I believe, and over 350 volunteers walked along the beaches daily in search of seagrass fruits that would be washed ashore, and then they place them in a pop-up facility that stores the fruits whilst it separates, and then the seeds are harvested from that. They're individually placed into sandbags, and then they're dropped into key areas where the seagrass is degrading, and that's all sort of helps to really cements this new seed, so the grass will grow there for sure. It helps to sort of solidify the sand around it so that it's not being just washed away, and so that it gives a better starting point for new grass growth, and existing grass, when that's reproducing, the seeds are more likely to land there and stay and grow. It gives the marine life somewhere to sort of grow up, and it just helps improve the local environment. One of the spokesmen said, by deploying these seeded sand bags, we're not only creating more habitat for juvenile fish to breed, feed and seek shelter, but we're improving the water quality and stabilizing the sand. The sandbands will also catch seedlings of amphibious seagrass that float past and get hooked onto the fibers of these sandbags. These are all important factors that will enhance the underwater ecosystem in that region. Wonderful news. We're seeing a lot of these projects popping up all over the world to help enhance and improve the sort of seagrass populations. So hopefully we'll see it some more and more, and some definite positive outcomes in years to come. Samsung on Wednesday had one of their big sort of product releases where they do a whole song and dance video about all their new Galaxy products and stuff. But one of the nice things to see was that they're actually planning to incorporate a lot more ocean-bound plastics and post-consumer materials in their new lineup. But not just that they're actively doing this, but they're actually helping to focus more on discarded fishing nets, which helps to raise a bit of awareness for discarded ghost gear. And I just thought that was quite nice to help get this to the general public who might not even sort of consider ghost gear, and that they have a whole sort of newsroom article about ocean-bound plastics, where the term's kind of thrown out a lot, and they say, well, yeah, you likely envisage a water bottle or a grocery bag drifting into the ocean. What might not come to mind is a more hidden threat: the 640,000 tons of fishing nets that are abandoned and discarded every year. And it goes on to explain ghost gear and how they're reusing that in their sort of new lineup. So hopefully this is going to again help raise awareness for ghost gear and really expose more of the general public to it, because this is where a lot of people focus and sort of really look at. And even if a fraction of a sort of a percentage of the number of people who glance at it actually take it in, it's still adding to awareness, and hopefully more change can come from it. The final news story is sort of a fun news story, but basically a homeowner has submitted a formal complaint to Oxford City Council because the City Council has basically nominated his home as one of the 17 potential new additions to the Oxford Heritage Asset Register. He owns a house that he inherited from his father that has a 25-foot long shark sticking out of the roof. If we roll the clocks back to 1986, the homeowner at the time, he was living in a cinema that he owned across the road called the Moulin Rouge, and to sort of drum up some interest and some intrigue, he put up some can legs on the top of the house, which the local council at the time said, no, thank you, and they politely asked them to be removed. And then ultimately he forced them to take them down. And then, as a sort of a protest against planning restrictions, censorship, and just what counts as art and what people can sort of say and regulate about what you do to your own house, he sculpted a 25-foot long shark that looks as if it's been dropped out of an aeroplane into the roof of his house. So that was back in like the sort of 1980s. It's been there ever since, and of course, it's received some intrigue from visitors. People specifically go there to take photos, and now it's been shortlisted to be given listed status. Unfortunately, and sort of ironically, he wasn't given any choice, or the current owner wasn't giving any notice, or even any choice to say no thank you. He basically just received a letter that just said, this is happening, you're one of 17 potential new additions. Are these details correct? And you're basically given the choice of, oh, okay, well, yes, these details are correct. But there was nowhere where he could say, oh, you know what, no, can I withdraw this whatever petition? I don't really want it. He doesn't live there at the moment. He currently rents it out as an Airbnb. So if you want to, you can sort of rent it out. I obviously don't know. I didn't actually look into it, but yeah, check it out. It was just kind of fun, and it's quite ironic, again, like the first news story, where the council are all very well and good doing their own thing, but then when you want to do your own thing, no, how dare you? It's yeah, it was just a little ironic from that. So that'll be quite interesting to see sort of what comes out of it. But yeah, if you want to check it out, it's in Nottingham, I think. It's actually 2 New High Street in Headington. And yeah, it draws quite a few visitors each year. So yeah, if you're in the area and you want to see a 25-foot shark sticking out of someone's roof, yeah, check it out. Right, so onto my product of the week, which this week is the Fourth Element Scout Diving Mask. So this is a first for Fourth Element. They normally make wetsuits and dry suit undersuits and that kind of stuff. Recent years, they've been branching out into luggage, sort of bags and bottles and hats and clothing and bits and bobs. And now they've brought out their first diving mask, which on the outside looks like a fairly standard frameless mask, single lens, the classic teardrop sort of triangular shaped lens. But when you drill down and look at all of the little features on it, it's actually a very sort of world changing mask, because first of all, it gives you the choice of 4 different lenses. So you have one lens which is called Clarity. They each have names. You've got Clarity, Shield, Contrast, and Enhance. There's your 4 different options. Clarity is effectively optical grade glass with fewer impurities in it. You see that in a lot of sort of very higher end masks, because if you look at the edge of glass, if you imagine like the edge of a glass table, it often has that bluish green effect to it. That's a lot of impurities in the glass. But if you take optical grade glass, it's usually colorless. So fewer impurities allow for a better view of colors, a more natural view, and it's good for photographers, it's good for instructors as well. Photographers, so that they can see exactly what's going on sort of in front of them and how their images are going to come out the other end. For instructors, it's handy so that your students can physically see your eyes. Then we have Shield. Shield is it has a UV blocking sort of filter on the outside, so a bit like sunglasses. So this is more for diving in very bright environments, snorkeling in and around the surface. They filter out the UVA and the UVB to protect your eyes from damage and to help reduce glare in bright conditions. You have Contrast, which is similar to Shield in that it blocks UVA and UVB, but it also filters out some mid-range wavelengths of light that actually helps to increase contrast in temperate, cold, green waters. So blacks appear darker, whites appear brighter, so objects really stand out underwater, but especially in greener waters like here in the UK. And then you get Enhance, which is another protecting lens that filters out UV as well, but it also filters out HEV, so high energy visible light that can damage your eyes over time. So good for diving in bright conditions and to sort of overall protect your eyes from harm. So you get 4 different choices of lenses. 2 different colors, black and white. Nothing overly sort of fancy, but black or white will go with any color scheme that you're going for. And then you have the elastic strap. So instead of a traditional silicone strap, you have one of the ski goggle style straps. So it's an elasticated fabric, so it's not going to grab and tangle up with your hair. You adjust it once and it stays in place. You still have that elasticity, so you can get it on and off really easily, but it stays at that perfect length. And it's also strong as well, so if it gets a little nick or a cut in it, it's not the end of the world. Whereas in a silicone strap, it tends to rip. The entire fabric, it's a webbing fabric, so a little nick isn't going to be the end of the world. The case that it comes in, it's a half EVA case. So you get one front half, which is molded to the shape of the front of your mask. So that's the protected side. And then on the other side, it's like a Lycra material sock, effectively. So you slip your mask in, it protects the front glass side, and then the back side, it's all covered up by this Lycra, so it tucks it all in, and that's made so that it can be tucked into the foot pocket of your fins, which most scuba divers do anyway, but this just gives a bit of extra protection to your mask. And a lot of the parts of the mask have been made out of recycled materials, so it's very environmentally friendly going forwards, and yeah, it's beneficial to the environment. The strap itself, it's made from recycled nylon and ABS plastic that was taken from I think old cars. They recycle that plastic, and that goes into the to the plastic buckles. So yeah, if you're in the market for a new mask, this is a real sort of game changer to a lot of the standard masks that are just out there, just with a here you go, you get it with a glass lens, take it or leave it. Now you get to sort of choose different lenses, different straps. You can swap the straps over very quickly and easily, and the case itself, instead of just that really traditional plastic box that you end up just reusing for whatever, it's a lot slimmer. It's going to take up a lot less space, and it's quite practical as well, because yeah, you can just stow it away in a thin foot pocket. And on to my question of the week, which this week is: are lens treatments worth it? So obviously, this comes from the Shield, the Scout mask, but this is actually a question that I get asked fairly frequently: is should I go for the standard version of the mask, or is it worth upgrading, paying a little extra, and getting the UV treated lens version of a mask? And one of the main arguments is, well, 30 meters underwater, a lot of the light is absorbed by the water down there. So why would I need like UV protection for my sort of eyes there? And it's not really for that. It's for when you're up around the surface, because whilst it might not feel like a big portion of the dive, you do spend a lot of time in and around the surface, and even during your safety stop, you're spending a fair amount of time just cruising around, and that light is still penetrating through. And because a lot of the time we're diving in nice, warm, bright, tropical areas, a lot of that light is quite intense, and you're still getting that light on cloudy days and sort of away from the equator. You're still getting those UV rays kind of beaming down to you. So if you're having any extra beneficial sort of lens treatments to help cut out any harmful UV rays and HEV rays into your eyes, then yeah, they definitely are worth it. And whilst it might be an extra £20 or something over the entire lifetime of your mask, yeah, it's going to be beneficial, and it's going to help your eye health sort of down the road, because any extra time when you're wearing protective lenses, it's protecting your eyes. So it's definitely worth it in the long run. You do get a few different types, so it's worth checking out which do what, basically. The main one was the Mares have a mask, and it's their frameless, their X Vision mask that came in a gold lens and a silver lens. The gold lens, I can't remember exactly which did which, but one was better for contrast, the other one sort of cut down glare, and we found that the gold version outsold the silver version like 3-1, but we didn't believe that it was due to the actual function of the lens. We considered that it was mainly down to people perceiving that gold is better than silver. So why would I choose the silver version? So if you're looking at the different lens treatments, like on the Scout mask, consider what each of them does and where they're more beneficial, and then sort of choose it. Don't go by what color tints the lens sort of is on the outside. Consider how it's benefiting your eyes and your eye health and your diving experience more than what it looks like. When you try a lot of these different lenses on, it first appears as if colors are different. Those kind of rose tinted sort of lenses, in the first minute or two, yes, everything does seem to sort of change color. Everything looks like on the UV version of the VX1, everything looks a little bit yellow, but your eyes do adjust fairly quickly. But they're behind a protective lens, so it's like you're wearing sunglasses. So yeah, I think they're definitely worth it. The manufacturers wouldn't continue to sort of produce them if they weren't popular or worth it. So yeah, and especially where a lot of divers are going into these tropical environments, yeah, you need to protect your eyes as much as possible in and out of the water. And when you're on the surface, when you're on the rib, when you're sort of getting ready, if you're wearing your mask, you're actively protecting your eyes from these damaging UVA, UVB, and HEV rays. And then, yeah, when you're doing your final safety stop at like 3 meters, yeah, you're still getting those light rays coming through, but because you're wearing a protected UV filtered lens, you're protecting your eyes. So going forwards, when you sort of add it all up, it's all multiplying, and it's all sort of acting as a huge protective shield. So your eye health is just better in the long run. So yeah, going forwards, I definitely recommend protected lenses on masks. I think in probably a good few years' time, it's not going to be like this year. I think we're hopefully going to start to see more and more lens options for masks instead of just this is the one version of this mask and this is the glass lens that it comes with. We're going to start to see a few more. Okay, here's the standard version, and then you get the UV treated version. I think the main problem with it is actually getting it to bond altogether, especially in frameless masks. The UV treatment on the outside, I don't think silicone likes sort of sticking to it. So the manufacturers have been trying to work out very clever ways of getting around it, whether the UV treatment doesn't go all the way to the edge of the glass lens, so the silicone can stick to the glass and then the UV treatments sort of starts, or it's like a subframe design where there is a frame that holds onto the glass, but then that frame is over molded by the silicone, so it's kind of half and half. It's technically a framed mask, but still the silicone is kind of over it, so it's not a huge bulky frame. But I think we are hopefully going to start seeing more and more lens treatment options for more standard masks. The budget masks, I think they're always going to be just tempered glass lenses, but when you get into more for lack of a better term, proper diving masks, then we're probably going to start to see sort of more lens treatments to be beneficial for your eyes. Because yeah, it's definitely worth protecting your eyes. But anyway, that's it for the podcast this week. All of these, I'm going to pop links down in the description below, sources of all the news stories and my product of the week, all those kind of links and stuff. But yeah, don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Simply Scuba channel and the Deco Stop podcast wherever you are listening to this, and rate and comment where you can. Remember to head over to simplyscuba.com, and if you do have any question, comments, queries, or even corrections, because I'm not always right, let me know down in the comments below, and if you use the hashtag AskMark, I will discuss it on the Friday show. Thank you for listening, everybody, and of course, safe diving.